I only have Marie. So please break up with me, David said with a solemn expression. I couldn't respond immediately to him. I wanted to say, I want to start over. Please don't abandon me. That's how much I still love David. I see. I understand, was all I could manage to say. And so, we divorced. Since then, I've been living with just my son. Then, a letter arrived from David, who had supposedly chosen his mistress. He had passed away in a traffic accident a month ago. Yet I received a letter from him, and read it with suspicion. The contents were shocking to me. No, this can't be true, I thought, trembling as I finished reading. And then, I made a certain decision. I am Amanda, a 32-year-old ordinary housewife. I have a husband named David who is 1 year older than me, and a son named Ethan. Amanda, you're so thoughtful. Look how you subtly serve food, move plates to the edge of the table, and call the waiter at just the right moment, David said. I met David at a party I was dragged to by a friend. I've always been shy about asserting myself, often taking on a listening role. Even then, while everyone else was having fun, I was playing a supporting role when David approached me. Are you bored by any chance? He asked. Not at all. I'm just not good at talking, I replied. I see. Hey, have you tried this? It's delicious, he said. David was always smiling and considerate of me. Thanks to him, I was able to enjoy the party to some extent. Would you like to exchange contact information? He asked. So I exchanged contacts with him. We quickly became close, and after his confession, we started dating. After several years of courtship, we got married. She's really cute. How about naming her Ethan? David suggested. I think that's lovely. Nice to meet you, Ethan, I replied. Shortly after getting married, I gave birth to Ethan. Amanda, I'm so glad I married you. You make me happy, David would say with a smile. I would nod and smile back, saying, I'm happy too. I truly believed this happiness would last forever. I finished my homework, Mom, Ethan would say. Oh, you're already done. That's wonderful, I'd reply. Ethan is very smart, taking after the brilliant David. He's studious, doing his homework without being told and often asking David, help me study. He's our pride and joy. However, there are people who don't think well of Ethan. They are David's parents. Ethan doesn't look much like David, does he? I wonder whose child he really is, my mother-in-law would say. It seems she's displeased that Ethan only resembles me. She says this mockingly every time we meet. What are you saying? I'd protest. That's right. Ethan is definitely my son. If you keep saying things like that, I won't come to this house anymore, David would say. Of course, neither David nor I tolerated my mother-in-law's words. Because she cares about David, when he says, I'll never come home again, she apologizes, saying, I didn't mean any harm. I'm sorry. But since she says it every time we visit David's parents' home, she probably isn't really sorry. And my father-in-law doesn't like that Ethan prefers studying indoors rather than playing outside. Recently, with the ability to study on tablets, when Ethan is in the corner of the room fiddling with a tablet device, he tries to forcibly take it away, saying, playing with that thing all the time indoors will make you stupid. Things are different now from when you were young. Ethan is studying with this, David would explain. How can you study with something that looks like a board? His father.
Do you know some people earn over $10,000 a month just by posting Reddit stories on YouTube? No face, no voice, just a laptop. I do it too, link below if you're curious.
Would retort. This is the same as the smartphone you use, Dad. Besides, you used to make me study when I was a kid, so why are you telling Ethan to go out and play? Apparently, in the past, David's father used to keep him from leaving his room, forcing him to study. Of course, it's not good for health to be constantly facing a tablet indoors. However, Ethan often plays outside with his friends too. It's just that there are no children around David's parents' house to play with, and there's no yard for Ethan to play in, so he prioritizes studying. I'm really sorry. My parents don't like that I married you, David would explain. According to him, his parents had wanted David to marry another woman. She was David's childhood friend and the daughter of a somewhat famous local company president. She's always liked David. How could he settle down with a woman like this, they'd say. That's enough. I truly love Amanda and Ethan. Please don't disappoint me anymore, David would respond. We've become increasingly estranged from his parents with such attitudes, and now we rarely visit David's family home. However, sometimes his parents show up at our house unannounced, or deliberately appear on Ethan's way home from school. I work from home and am usually in the house. His parents know this, so even if I pretend not to be home, they knock on the door or shout loudly, which is very stressful. However, since the police were called by a neighbor before, his parents don't stay long and quickly leave. Although I maintain my policy of ignoring them when they come, I can't help but wonder why they're so obsessed. As a precaution, I accompany Ethan when he goes to and from school, wary of his grandparents. My parents are also keeping an eye out, so fortunately no incidents have occurred so far. Still, it's natural to worry. Maybe we should move closer to your parents' place, David suggested. With those words as a trigger, we started considering moving. Although the cost of moving would be painful, if it could bring us peace of mind, we spent our days looking for a new home. One day, I received a call from an unknown number on my phone. Could it be work-related? At first I was cautious about the unfamiliar number, but since it kept ringing, I decided to answer. Hello? I said as I picked up the phone, and immediately a woman's voice started berating me. Finally you answer. You're so slow to pick up. Frowning and debating whether to hang up, I said, who is this? If you don't have any business, I'm going to hang up. Wow, how rude. I'm Marie, David's future wife. What is this person talking about? I thought, once again debating whether to hang up. If this is a prank, I'm hanging up, I said. It's true. I'm David's childhood friend, and I'm going to marry him in the future, she replied. At those words, I remembered that the name of David's childhood friend was indeed Marie. David had once said, Marie is selfish and not at all my type. Could this Marie on the phone be his childhood friend? If so, why would she be calling me? Such questions raced through my mind, and I found myself at a loss for words. Can you hear me? David is mine. Hurry up and break up with him, she said in a voice that clearly conveyed her disdain for me even over the phone. How much is this woman looking down on me? I'm sorry, but I'll have to decline. David and I love each other, I replied. That's only for now. He just wanted to have some fun before marrying me. So don't get carried away, she snapped back. I could understand why David disliked this woman. There was no reasoning with her. Oh, is that so? I'm sorry, but I'm working right now. I'll have to excuse myself, I said and hung up. After that, Marie called several more times, but I ignored her. Eventually she seemed to give up and my phone went quiet, but then a message came through. I wonder how long you'll be able to keep your job after making an enemy of the Wilson Group. The Wilson Group. I had a bad feeling. Could it be that Wilson? The Wilson Group is a major company that operates multiple restaurants. Of all things, the Wilson Group. I have work connections with the Wilson Group. Moreover, they were supposed to be David's business partners. I need to talk to David about this right away, I thought. As soon as David came home from work, I told him about Marie's call. David's eyes widened in surprise. No way. Marie, he said, clearly upset. Seeing David so agitated, I became worried. Then, he seemed to catch himself and shook his head. "It's okay. Leave her to me," he said, smiling as if to reassure me. Although I had a bad feeling about this, I decided to leave it to him as usual. "All right, I'm counting on you," I said. David smiled, looking relieved. Whenever something happened, David would say, "Leave it to me," and always resolve the issue. So this time too, I left it to him, but later I would come to regret that decision. From the next day, David started coming home late. He said, "It's just overtime because it's a busy period," but considering the timing, something might be happening to him because of Marie. However, since David wasn't telling me anything, all I could do was worry and wait. Things came to a head a year later. "Marie is pregnant with my child. So, please break up with me," David said expressionlessly. I couldn't believe what he was saying and could only stare at his face. "My decision won't change. I'll give you custody of Ethan and this house," he continued. "What? Don't be ridiculous," I exclaimed. We were currently living in the new home we had finally decided on after nearly a year of consideration. It was filled with our ideals. To casually give up such a home and our precious son. The David I knew would never do such a thing. "Please reconsider. Tell me the truth," I pressed David. However, he not only didn't answer, but he wouldn't even meet my eyes. "I won't sign the divorce papers until you tell me the truth," I said. "I see. In that case, I'll leave this house," he replied. After that, David stopped coming back to our new home and started living at his parents' house. His parents were delighted about this. They called almost every day, saying, "Hurry up and break up with our son. Let David go." Even so, I thought I couldn't divorce until I knew the truth. "Amanda, you should give up on him," my parents said, suddenly changing their stance and agreeing to the divorce. Until now, they had been supporting me and believing in David together with me, but they suddenly changed their opinion. "Why? I'm not satisfied with this," I protested. "Please, Amanda. We don't want you to be unhappy," they pleaded. Being persuaded even by my parents like this, I chose to divorce David. Fortunately, my income alone is enough for the two of us to live comfortably. My parents would surely help us too. "I'll be fine. I'm okay with just you, Mom," Ethan said with a smile. I hugged him tightly. For this child's sake, I need to be strong. I decided to meet David one last time before the divorce, saying, "I want to talk to you one last time before we divorce." David, whom I hadn't seen in a while, looked exhausted and kept sighing. "As I said before, I'll give you this house and custody of Ethan," he said. "You can abandon Ethan so easily," I replied. David's face showed a complex expression for a moment at my words. But he quickly returned to a blank expression. "I have another child now," he said. "You mean the child with Marie?" I asked. At those words, David looked away. The David I knew was someone who talked seriously and didn't avert his gaze. "Is the David I loved no longer here? You don't need us anymore, do you?" I said. At that, David finally looked at me. "I only have Marie now. So please break up with me," he said with a solemn expression. I couldn't respond immediately to him like that. I wanted to say, "I want to try again. Don't abandon me." That's how much I still loved David. "I see. I understand," was all I could manage to say. And so, we divorced. "I'll protect Mom and Dad's place," Ethan said, comforting me as I was feeling down. "I don't need David anymore. This child is all I need." "Ethan, I'll make you happy," I said, hugging him tightly. And so, I decided to move forward on a different path from David. Since then, I've been living with just my son. Then, a letter arrived from David, who had supposedly chosen his mistress. He had passed away in a traffic accident a month ago. About David, he was hit by a car and passed away, my father had told me. When I heard that, I was very sad. Although I had made the decision to divorce, I guess somewhere in my heart I still loved him. However, he had chosen Marie over me. So I didn't attend his funeral. Why a letter from David now? I wondered, reading it with suspicion. Amanda, I'm truly sorry for what I've done to you and Ethan. I'm so sorry, the letter began with an apology. The carefully written letters were nostalgic, almost making me cry. And as I read on, the contents were shocking to me. No, this can't be true, I thought, trembling as I finished reading. And then, I made a certain decision. I understand how you felt. But that's separate from this, I muttered, and immediately decided to take action. With thoughts of, I'll never forgive them. I won't lose, I decided to move forward. I'm Amanda, David's wife. Please let me see the president, I said, heading first to the Wilson Group headquarters. I asked the receptionist to call the president. So you're Amanda. My condolences about David, the president said. No, more importantly, I received this recently, I said, handing the president the letter from David. He took it, checked the contents, and nodded, saying, everything written here is true. He never betrayed you. Those clear words almost made me cry. Seeing me like this, President Wilson stood up. I'm truly sorry about all of this, he said, apologizing deeply. How could such an honest person raise a daughter like that? I thought as I looked at President Wilson. No matter how much you apologize, he won't come back. If only you had admitted this earlier. I said. I need to apologize for that too. We haven't gathered all the evidence yet, but... The president began, then went on to say even more shocking things. Hearing his story, part of me thought, I knew it. I understand. I don't intend to blame you for this, but please cooperate with me. I want you to bring me that evidence, I said. Of course. I will definitely gather the evidence and give it to you, he replied. I made a firm promise with President Wilson and began preparations. I will definitely clear David's regrets. For the sake of Ethan and me being happy too. Just watch, Marie. And you too, worthless parents, I thought. 3 days after meeting with President Wilson, having gathered sufficient evidence, I stormed into David's family home. I left Ethan with my mother and rang the doorbell of David's family home with my father. Who is it? A woman with blonde hair and heavy makeup poked her head out from inside the house. This must be Marie, the woman who stole David from me. Nice to meet you. I'm Amanda. This is my father, I said. Huh? You're Amanda. Marie looked us up and down. What do you want? This house is mine now, she said. I came because I have something important to talk about. By the way, it must be quite miserable to be kicked out of a mansion and have to live in a house like this, I said with a smile. Marie's face quickly filled with anger. Actually, after learning about David, President Wilson had kicked her out of the house and disowned her. That's why she was reluctantly living in this inconvenient house. Don't get cocky. You're the one who was abandoned, she snapped. That's part of what we need to talk about. Won't you let us in for now? My father said calmly. Marie reluctantly let us in. Well, if it isn't the loser. What do you want now? David's parents were of course in the house too, and they looked at me with puzzled expressions. I smiled at them. I came to talk about David, I said. Now it's time for counterattack. I'll make them regret their actions thoroughly. Actually, I received a letter from David the other day, I said, presenting David's letter, which I had also shown to President Wilson, to them. At first, David's parents and Marie frowned, but as they read on, their expressions changed. Did you really think that a letter revealing the truth wouldn't reach me after he passed away? I asked. The letter detailed their misdeeds. You put all kinds of pressure on David to make him marry Marie, I began. When David's parents learned that Marie still had feelings for David, they decided that if he married the daughter of the Wilson group, it would benefit them too. So they started pushing David to marry her. The letter said, "My parents call every day, telling me to marry Marie. Because of that, my work is being interfered with, and I'm always getting cold looks from those around me." David's parents would call him day and night, and if he didn't answer, they'd contact his company. Because of this, David was always feeling uncomfortable at work. Even so, David kept refusing your demands, saying, "The only ones I love are Amanda and Ethan." Frustrated with him, you resorted to extreme measures. David had apparently confided in my father during his lifetime. The reason my parents tried to persuade me to divorce was because they respected David's wish not to involve me. That's why, now knowing the whole truth, my father came with me to confront them. David's parents had called him out. Of course, David was wary, but thinking he would cut ties with them for good if anything happened, he came to his parents' house one last time out of filial piety. There, his parents made David drink a large amount of alcohol until he was completely drunk. When David was thoroughly intoxicated, they called Marie to the house. And they created a fait accompli. David, who was passed out drunk, had no memory of being unfaithful. However, the fact that he had spent a night with a woman drove him into a corner. So he judged that he couldn't escape from Marie, and brought up the divorce to avoid involving U.S. What you didn't expect was that President Wilson, upon learning the truth, would disown Marie, I continued. Kicked out of her home, Marie had squatted in this house. She had planned to live off David's earnings, but he passed away in an accident just as she was settling in. To corner David for your own benefit. You're not parents at all. Shame on you, my father shouted. David's parents flinched and lowered their heads. So what? David chose me, didn't he? Marie said. Yes, because you said you were pregnant, I replied, looking at Marie's stomach. There was no change in her body at all, making it doubtful whether she was really pregnant. You also used some pretty awful methods to get David, didn't you? I said. Marie had been using her position as the president's daughter to put pressure on the company David worked for. With a major company glaring at them, the other employees looked at David even more coldly. On top of that, Marie would wait in ambush for David every day in front of his company when work finished. To shake her off, David would work overtime or take detours home, which is why he was always late coming home. I was just expressing my feelings to David, Marie protested. Your feelings? Did you want him so badly even though he didn't warm up to you? I asked. Marie reacted to my words. David had been aware of Marie's feelings. Marie thought all men belonged to her. That's why she became interested in and obsessed with David, who treated her coldly. There was no love there. That's what was written in the letter. That's not true. I've always been faithful to David. Marie exclaimed. Oh really? You seem to enjoy playing around quite a bit, I said, showing Marie several photos. They showed Marie being intimate with different men. David told you, didn't he? I won't love you when you've taken my happiness away, and I don't even know if the child is mine, I said. It's David's fault. Even though I confessed to him, he was not just indifferent but downright cold. Marie shouted. So that's why you caused his traffic accident. At that moment, President Wilson's voice resonated. Huh? Why is Dad's voice? Marie looked around in confusion. Then she noticed the smartphone in my hand. When I heard Amanda was going to confront you today, I asked her to keep me on the line, the president explained. Dad! Why did you kick me out? Marie cried. It's only natural to disown a daughter who has ruined someone's life and become a criminal, came the voice over the phone, cold enough to make one shudder, not at all like how one would speak to their daughter. I had been receiving consultations from David for some time. On that day too, he was on his way to me with evidence of Marie's infidelity. On the way, he met with a traffic accident and didn't return, the president explained. David got what he deserved for betraying me. Marie shouted. It was your fault. You pushed him from behind while he was waiting for the traffic light at the crosswalk. David, caught off guard, didn't notice Marie's presence and ended up throwing himself onto the road. Then he was hit by a car that fled the scene, and his life was taken. He was such a good person, but because of your selfishness, a precious life was lost, the president said. How do you know that, Dad? Marie asked. I was on the phone with David at the time, he replied. David had contacted President Wilson saying, I'm on my way to see you now. That's why President Wilson heard about the accident over the phone, and heard David say, Marie. So, as my last act of atonement, I've been gathering evidence of your crimes, the president said. Even Dad has betrayed me. Marie cried. You were the first to betray our trust, he replied. And then the call ended. Marie kept calling, Dad, to the smartphone that no longer made any sound. The evidence has been handed over to the police by President Wilson. It's only a matter of time before you're arrested, I said. Just then, the siren of a police car coming to pick her up echoed in the area. After that, Marie was arrested. It's okay, I have David's inheritance. As long as I have that. Marie had been muttering to herself before the police took her away. To her, I smiled and said, I'm sorry, but you won't be getting any of David's inheritance. What? But I'm David's. She began. I'm David's wife. After all, we never divorced, I explained. As it turns out, David had a completed divorce form, but he had never submitted it. I know in my head that I need to let Amanda go. But I just couldn't bring myself to submit it, he had written in the letter. The divorce papers had been sent along with the letter. Therefore, David and I were still married. His inheritance will go to his wife and child, me and Ethan. Not a single dollar for you or his parents. I declared. At this, Marie started screaming incomprehensible words as if she had gone mad. And just as she was about to lunge at me, the police took Marie away. Listen, Amanda. We were being threatened by Marie too. She told us to help her get together with David. David's parents tried to sidle up to me after Marie was taken away. I glared at the two of them. Because of you, I lost my beloved husband. You took away my son's father. That's right, Ethan is our grandson, my father-in-law suddenly shouted. I gave him a cold look. That child is the only one with David's blood. So, hand Ethan over to us. That child is our grandchild. My father-in-law's intentions were transparent. He probably wanted to take Ethan in to get his hands on David's inheritance and have someone to take care of them in their old age. As if I would hand over my precious son to you. He is not a convenient tool for your purposes. I shouted back at them, and my father and I left the house. Later, I heard through the grapevine that because the police had come to their house, David's parents were now viewed with suspicion by their neighbors. The two of them were already known as a troublesome couple, and this incident made them the constant subject of whispers. I don't care about people like that anymore. From now on, I'm going to live for Ethan. I made that decision as I stroked Ethan's head. After that, I heard that when Marie was released from prison, she tried to rely on David's parents, but of course they wouldn't take her in. They had a big fight at the front door, and once again they faced embarrassment. Kicked out of both David's parents' house and her own home, Marie apparently disappeared into the night. Well, she's reasonably good-looking, so I hope she works hard to earn the compensation she owes me. In the end, it seems Marie's pregnancy was a lie. It's fortunate that there wasn't an innocent child who would have been unhappy. And David's parents, who caused another commotion, apparently sold their house and moved away. When my father hired a detective to investigate, he found that they had caused trouble in their new location too and caught the eye of some troublesome people. My father explained that those two would probably never find happiness. Knowing the fate of these wicked people, I felt relieved from the bottom of my heart. Several years later. "Well, I'm off," Ethan said. "Have a good day." "Don't be too late," I replied, seeing Ethan off to school with a smile. Ethan has grown up and is now in high school. He still loves studying and has grown into a kind boy who always looks out for me. "I promise, Dad." "I said I'd protect Mom if anything happened," Ethan told me once. Apparently, before parting with David, Ethan had a long talk with him. At that time, David had asked him to protect me if he was gone. "So I decided to protect Mom, for Dad's sake too," Ethan said with a smile. His words reminded me of David's letter. "If I can never return to you, please forget about me and live happily. Don't seek revenge or anything like that," he had written. David, who cared about us until the very end. His last wish was for us not to seek revenge. Although I couldn't fulfill that wish, I don't regret my actions. I believe our current happiness is because I took action then. My feelings are at peace now. My parents still help us, and President Wilson, probably out of guilt, supports us financially. Actually, I'm learning about management from President Wilson. My dream is to take over his company someday, Ethan told me with a smile, talking about his future. I intend to warmly watch over him as he pursues that dream. "You're watching over us too, aren't you?" I say to the photo displayed in the living room. I could almost feel David in the photo nodding gently with a smile.